Recently, I've been really thinking about doing something else and maybe moving out from Moscow. So today, together with Misha the comrade, I'm in Moscow Oblast, exploring new territories, and suddenly I found this Soviet house. This is so crazy. We found an entire field and it's just around 50 minutes from Moscow city center. So guys, I have several ideas about what I've been thinking about, so I can explain you about it in this video. And what I can tell you is that Moscow is not getting cheaper, and the financial situation is like this at the moment, is that my contract for flat is going to expire in few months. I don't exactly remember what months, maybe November. So yeah, around November my contract will expire, and I really much expect that my landlord is going to raise my rent. And currently this year dollar went down and ruble got more strength. Last year $1,000 it was 100,000 rubles, and this year it's around 80, so it is like 20% difference plus. Now I have more expensive Misha to feed, and I expect my rent to rise. So I'm thinking what to do next. And I've been thinking about like owning my own property and where I want to actually settle for the future. I've been studying about mortgages and stuff, and currently a mortgage in Russia is just impossible, because for normal people mortgage can be 25, like 30%, which is like you're just paying a lot of percentage to the bank. You're not paying for the flat, you paying this percentage first to the bank, which is just insane. And if you calculate the mortgage, you can pay around like minimum 1,000 US dollars or maybe 2,000 US dollars, depends on which amount you get for the mortgage. So it's expensive, like no one can actually afford the mortgage at the moment. I need something more affordable that I can save some money on in a perfect situation, to be able to save some money to afford some kind of mortgage in the future. But in a current situation where I live in Moscow, it's expensive place, and you can actually spend a lot much more money here in Moscow, because like to go to the fancy restaurant, to go to nice coffee shops, to go to like to Stars Coffee and stuff like that, you always going somewhere. But yeah, Moscow is such a great place for the content, right? Always full of ideas. But actually what I feel about Moscow is just like 50-50. I really like to be here, but at the same time, I like to be outside of Moscow, because sometimes I feel like too much here, too overwhelmed, too like crowded for me. And if you watch my videos, like I traveled this year to Baikal, I really like those tiny cities around Russia. And what I feel like, a lot of YouTubers that they right now live in Moscow, maybe 50% of Russian YouTubers, they broadcasting live from Moscow. And I really feel like other areas of Russia, they are not covered at all. Maybe like a few like people, right, living in a different parts. And recently I've been feeling that maybe my Moscow chapter is actually done, or maybe not done. Like I'm trying to like understand it for myself, guys. Misha just seeing another dog right now at the moment, walking in there in the field. That's why he got so excited. And look at Misha's ears. So recently I've been spending a lot of time with him, like we're trying to make his ear up. Unfortunately his ears, like one of his ear go down. I've been sticking them like this up because his breed should have ears up like this. Oh, it should be like this, 2 ears perfectly up. My another big concern about like that I need to change my location a little bit, or not really a little bit, is that this little furry bear needs a bigger space, maybe a bigger flat, which is I cannot afford if I will stay in the middle of Moscow. Prices just are very expensive. The bigger place I can afford, or if I will go somewhere like to Moscow Oblast, which is I came here right now to look at one of the areas I so much like this field, and is that there are a lot of tiny small houses over there, like cottages, very nice style. And Misha, he really needs some more nature, because believe me or not, Misha is already 14 kg and he's only 5 months old, so he's going to be a big northern dog. So he really needs to like open space a little bit. And where I live in the moment, we only have like a pavement roads, like high buildings and a lot of constructions around, and only toy dogs running over there. Not only, but a lot of them like apartment dogs, like small. We have like tiny poodles. Mister, I need your commentary about this question. What do you think? I was actually very sad about it, but then I realized that actually wanting for a change is not a bad thing. What happened to my hair? It's not growing right. So my first big idea was to actually move somewhere to the Moscow Oblast and not give up with Moscow, because it's kind of cool to live here. It has a lot of content potential, but again, I've been living here almost 2 years, and I feel like sometimes I feel burned out from the Moscow content, and I feel inspiration a lot when I travel somewhere. If it's possible, I would like to live somewhere in more new apartment. I like my petitashka, typical Khrushchevka, but I'm really tired about that my floor there is very bad, and I would prefer to live somewhere in a place, the house that has elevator. Now I don't have elevator and the building is quite old, so I would like to try something else and something more new. Another my great idea was about coming back to the far east of Russia, to my family, and living again in Vladivostok, because after Moscow I feel like, wow, it would be so cool to show Misha the real ocean, because he really likes to swim. Actually, we brought him to the river and he enjoys water. He always jumps to the waves, and even he likes to watch the fountain. So he's really a water boy. So I think he will really like it to see the Japanese Sea and try to swim in the ocean. Plus, to have a family is so cool, because I haven't been home for a year now. I'm missing all the birthdays and celebrations, and now I have Misha. And when I want to leave somewhere in Moscow, I don't have any family members, so I need to find передержка, we call it in Russian, like the dog sitter or friends or someone. So it's not that easy, but in family it's more easy. My mom actually likes dogs, so She can help me with that, I guess. I mean, I don't know, but I hope so. I really been thinking about what do I really want. Should I maybe earn more money to hustle, to just live in Moscow and live in one of those like fancy places and stuff? And I just realized that it's not really about me. I kind of not really inspired anymore about those mega cities, because if you know my story, I kind of travel a lot, and I lived in Shanghai, I lived in Bali for half a year, I lived like in China, in Kuala Lumpur. So I already had experience living in the biggest and the most beautiful cities on earth. And what I feel in the moment is like opposite. I don't want to hustle and bustle to live my fancy life in Moscow. Do you understand what I mean? Do I make any sense? Like, I'm like going opposite way. I feel like this housing complex called Honey Valley. It's not like a business class. It's very simple. It reminds me a little bit of like simple Chinese buildings. So this is Dixie Supermarket. It's not a bad place. It's just like a normal modern Russian housing complex. Far east of Russia is so not covered in YouTube. I think it's very interesting. Like, if you think about it, after living in Moscow for 2 years, you see on the map where like my hometown locates, like Vladivostok, and like it's like literally border to China. And from the Western perspective, it's so interesting how is life there actually, and I have inspiration from that, thinking like, oh, I'm a local, I can share the Far East life from a local perspective, because like I grew up over there. Two more crazy dreams I have is that one of which is crazy dream of buying a small wooden house somewhere in a Russian village and renovating it. Yes, you literally can find a house in Russian village for cheap, maybe $5,000, something like that. So it's like not a mortgage for 30 years. But I'm scared to do it alone. Like, it's a lot of like hard labor. If you buy a very cheap house, it will be in very bad condition. So I can imagine how much manual work you need to put there to actually like remove everything and then bring all the materials. Like, it's my crazy dream, but it's so hard to make it alone as a girl with a dog. I think it's an interesting idea for YouTube, like making a series of renovating old Russian style house to the modern place where you can actually live. Yeah, I'm just dreaming about small cottage house where we can grow some flowers and Misha can run and enjoy snowy weather, like something like that. Another crazy idea that I have is to moving to the far north of Russia and living in beyond the Arctic Circle, because I really want to experience the harsh weather conditions. Again, I don't know what's wrong with me, but I like to live in the different places. I've been living in Kuala Lumpur, like on the equator, where the climate doesn't change. I have a really crazy dream about trying to live with a polar night, like in the harsh conditions, to see the northern lights, not just like going on a tour to Murmansk or somewhere, but actually trying to survive a real Russian Arctic winter. And when I'm thinking about winter, which is coming very fast, like I already can see how I don't like winter in Moscow, because it doesn't have nice clean snow anywhere. And I already can imagine how it's going to be with my white dog. I mean, obviously I know what to do. You just need to wash your dog every time, which I do. After each rain, he gets very dirty. Yeah, I understand that. But I think it would be so much more easy if just snow would be clean and just white snow without many cars in small towns, in a village, or like when I travel to north of Baikal. The snow is literally untouched, so when your dog goes for a walk, he comes back almost clean in winter. And again, no one from Russian vloggers broadcasting live from the Russian north. No one. They all people from or Moscow or Nizhny Novgorod, Novosibirsk or south of Russia. No one is living in the Russian north, so I feel like I have inspiration about this too. I'm very happy that I have actually very nice audience, and I see that a lot of you guys, you will understand me. So I explain you about my crazy ideas, about what I think to do in the future. I really have an inspiration about all of it. I just kind of don't know what to decide yet, and maybe you can write me your comments so we can decide together, because this channel actually means a lot for me. Sometimes I have real burnouts, but still when I'm making the videos and people watching it, I feel like this is important. If tens of thousands of people watching, I think it's worth doing it. Of course, I'm scared to change something in my life, because saying, oh, what if I will give up what I have? I will regret about it and like will want to make it return what I have. So what do you guys think? Maybe I just shouldn't change anything, but if you think about it, change for good. If you don't change, you don't grow, right? So if you doing something again and again, you will not achieve new results. But if you're trying something different, maybe something else will happen in your life.